Now it's time to replace wires. I'm gonna solder new wires to this car. As we're gonna make it more powerful, we need a better connection. The factory wires are very poorly made, usually in these cheap cars, and the connections are not well soldered. So unless when you open the cover, you usually can break some wires, and I want to make sure that I avoid this problem, because we're going to use this car in very harsh conditions. So before applying any power to this car, I'm going to test it with a regular voltage with 3.7 voltage and see how it works. What I'm going to do is remove now the wires, unsolder them, and solder new ones to them. I need to think which connectors I want to be soldered to, and depending on the electrical design, I will choose the correct wiring. The soldering station is working, it's ready to go. Don't forget to use protection goggles, as the soldering wire may jump due to high temperatures. You need to make sure you protect your eyes. First we want to do is just disconnect wires from the motor. That's pretty easy. The next thing we're going to do is to break the soldering wire into smaller particles. Like this, small balls. And then attach it to the wire, like this. So now I have a wire with the soldering wire on it, so that I can then solder it to the motor. So that's how I would do that. The next thing I will do is soldering the wires to the electrical motor. The wires should go this way, as I have a hole in the casing. The wires will go this way, so I want to solder them in this direction, so that the wires, if they play a lot, they don't break the connections. So I will have to wire them this way, not this way, because otherwise I'll have to play with the wires a lot and they may break the connections. And the logic is the same, just I already have the wiring, the soldering wire on the wires. The only thing I need to do is to melt them so that it attaches to the contacts. Like this. It's pretty easy. And one more. And just wait a little bit. So as you can see, it doesn't take much time. I'm done with this. So as you can see, the wire is connected here. Both electrical motors now have connections. Next step will be connect everything to the remote control, to the switch, and to the relays. But now I'm going to test this car without relays, with a regular power. Another good idea would be to fasten your wires so that the part coming from the fastener to connectors don't play much. Now they don't move. The possibility that they detach is very low, so you can play with the wires as you wish and nothing happens. So I use this plastic fasteners in my case to fasten these wires. It's a good idea to do this, especially in my case this part will be close with the casing, with another part of the casing, so I don't want to go back and fix the contacts in case something breaks. So I would advise to fasten all of that type of wires. And finally, before we finish, we need to check if the connectors are okay, and for this we will use a multimeter and we'll check the resistance. If the resistance works, then it should be working fine. So for this purpose we will put the multimeter indicator into this position and check the indicator, and in my case for one contact is fine and the other one also works. As you can see, there is indication, and when I remove it, it becomes 1. When I connect them, it shows resistance. When I remove it, it becomes 1. So the connection works fine. We can proceed to the next step. Now I'm going to work with the second part of the housing, the top part. I noticed that these wires are thin and they need some improvement, so I will just remove them and solder my new wires to this contact directly from here. There's no contact on the contacts when they're inside. If something hits up, I don't see whether the contact is broken or not, so I want to see them and I want them to be outside, and I will also apply some extra insulation to make sure they are fastened well. Now I soldered all wires to the battery casings, and as you can see, for now I'll be using only one battery, and I have this wire that will give me plus, minus and plus, so that this will go to the remote control and the electrical motors will get electricity from the remote control unit directly. And the next step will be to use 2 batteries, and that's why I wired extra wires here. I'll get this double power output, and the batteries will go in series connection, giving me double power. Now, another addition was the insulation tape. After I soldered the wires to the battery cases, I made sure these contacts are steadily fastened, so that when we move the wires, there's less chances that the wires break from the contacts. So I also applied insulation tape. Also, I soldered the wires to the remote control unit so that I have all connectors ready to be plugged into the electrical motors. Now this is going to be working as a factory setting, because we have only one battery, which is 3.7 volts, and the factory setting came with 3 batteries, each 1.5 volts, so it was 4.5 volts. If you use regular batteries, they give you 1.2 volts each. That would be 3.6, so that would be equivalent to this battery. And as I arrange the connectors accordingly, now I know which wire goes where. So here, for example, this is going to be a power wire, and it comes from this wire here, so I'll just connect it, and then I know that some of the wire goes to steering wheel and some goes to the forward and backwards movement, electrical motor, This way I have it all set up and connected. And if we check whether it works or not, we'll turn on the remote control unit and try it. So you can see it's working. It's working actually as a battery setting. That's not very fast. Next step would be to add second battery and the relays to provide more power to the electrical motors. And I'll just show you how it moves. Not very powerful car, right? The steering mechanism is even poor, it can't even actually turn well. So it definitely needs more power.